Just wait just a couple of seconds before I jump on the old soapbox, give you a little bit of a lowdown on what's happening here the few days after Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Wanted to jump on here right quick, and before tonight's meeting to hopefully maybe spark some thoughts. There's been some interesting things happening in Utah recently. And once I did a little bit of research, I started to find out the significant issue that we're still facing here. Over the weekend, just I think it was the day after Thanksgiving, Springville had a tragedy. A fellow high school student from my two boys who both attend Springville High. A fellow student was on their way to visit family and was involved in a head-on collision on I-15 that was the direct result of a wrong-way driver that's been suspected at this time of being under the influence, DUI. Unfortunately, Annika Wilson of Springville and her boyfriend, young man himself, both passed away. Very tragic, like, you know, senseless car crash. Someone's choice to drink and drive has now devastated two families and a lot of loved ones and a lot of friends. So it got me thinking a little bit about, okay, so what's going on in Utah? Last year in Utah alone, do you guys know that there was over 11,440 DUI related arrests in Utah? And if you think about it, that's an average of about 31 per day. 31 arrests per day. So what's going on in Utah? What are we not getting? We're having some problems here. We are still thinking that we are 10 feet tall and bulletproof and that these kind of situations don't have any repercussions. And they absolutely do. And last year, while arrest numbers increased, slightly from the previous year, overall the rate has declined over the past decade, but that doesn't really matter much when we're still facing 11,440 DUI related arrests just in Utah alone. I mean, can you imagine 31 arrests a day? That's crazy. The highest numbers of arrests, obviously, were along the Wasatch Front. We got Salt Lake County, Davis County, Utah County, Weber counties, and that's about 68% of the total. But that tells me that we still have a ton of stuff to do. And I don't know. See, Addict to Athlete operates under the sphere of addiction recovery, which is fantastic because that means that you're participating because you have this clue something's happened where you're like, hey, life isn't really panning out for me right now. I think I better go get some help. So that doesn't happen. It doesn't help if, the consequences haven't arrived yet or the realization hasn't. I mean, if you're talking over 11,000 arrests each year, we still have a ton of work to do. And so I'm thinking like, all right, let's put our heads together. This is a recovery community. What are we missing? What's really going on? Why do we still think that alcohol isn't a drug that, that you can consume it and be fine? We still have this culture by which we kind of think that, wine and whatnot's fine. And it's not. Like, we got to remember that we still have responsibilities. We still have obligations. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and enjoy yourself, because please do, but stay home. That's crazy. I mean, you got to remember, this was an 18-year-old girl and just, 20 plus young man needlessly died because some guy got behind the wheel that shouldn't have. Years ago, we had an opportunity to participate in a local event. It was a run to help benefit a family whose family was struck by tragedy. DUI driver ended up killing a member of this person's family. A young little boy who was a survivor of the crash. They were putting on a 5K, and I'll never forget reaching out to this family to see if it would be okay if Addict to Athlete would participate in their 5K to help bring money and resources to the charity that they're putting on. Because here's a bunch of people who are in recovery who had problems like this and had probably all been behind the wheel when we shouldn't have. But this family, they graciously accepted Addict to Athlete to come be a part of their event. And I will never forget the response that we got. It showed the people who were suffering the tragedy that people can change. But not if we're still cool with over 11,000, well, 11,440 people being arrested on DUI, charges each year in Utah. We've got a lot of work to do. And so tonight, Addict to Athlete, those who are participating in the group, and for those that will be tuning in to watch online, I want to do something different. We're looking for a December run to kind of put together. And I'm thinking there's not a lot of charity runs right now. There's some decent ones out there, but like nothing that I think kind of like moves the needle for what I think we need to do. And I'm thinking about doing a run on December 30th, New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, where we run the New Year sober. And we're going to do this with a lot of publicity, hopefully, to start showing people that, hey, you can still go out and have a good time and do it sober. We need to get the message out that, especially on this day, the day that people are synonymous with drinking and driving and whatnot, like let's start 2026 off with a much better opportunity or maybe some hope. Because right now, I mean, if the trend continues, we're going to have over 12,000, and that's, I mean, who knows what we have right now in 2025. We got to pump the brakes, but I'm thinking maybe we can raise a little bit of money, maybe a little bit of funds for the families that lost their loved ones this last weekend. Something I want you guys to bring your ideas to the table, I guess is what I'm saying. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what do we need to do for our community. We need to get back to the grassroots of what Team Addict to Athlete stands for, and that's making some waves, because this is ridiculous. I'm kind of upset with what I've discovered just doing just a little bit of research. And despite there being a small increase last year, that's still like over 11,000 people that got behind the wheel when they shouldn't have. It's got to end somewhere. And I'm thinking, let's make some noise. Let's make some change. Let's show up a little bit more in force. Let's come up with a logo. Let's come up with some shirts, whatever. I don't care. We'll figure it out. But let's raise money maybe this New Year's. Let's find out a cool name for it. Let's get some people behind it. Let's go out and show the community that, hey, people change. But also, let's give back to the community that this individual who made that decision to drive the day after Thanksgiving intoxicated, to jump on the freeway the wrong way, and to take 2 lives, let's show him that he could have done better. He should have done better. And I know he probably feels that way now when he's sobered up. Most of them do. He has a family that lost as well, obviously. I can't imagine the horror that would be waking up to realize that you've done something like this because you made a really stupid decision. And it's hard because I see his side too. But obviously, we're not doing enough. We've got to get the word out there more that there are opportunities, places, and locations for people to get help, to start pursuing maybe some assistance in recovery, maybe even just showing them that when you're ready, we're here. But also, like, why throw your life away for something that you could have slept off at home? You could have called a sober driver. I want to come up with something. So when you guys come in tonight, there's going to be no structured meeting, but I really want to put our heads together to come up with a plan on what we're going to do, because I'm a firm believer in our communities. That's why I started Addict to Athlete, that if we find a hole somewhere, it's our responsibility to fill it. And I think there's a huge hole here. I don't think that law enforcement's like the answer. I mean, obviously, we need to stop these guys while they're out there. We need to get as many off the road as we can. But maybe we can start doing some preemptive striking, because just driving past Springville High today and seeing some of the kids dressed in their Sunday best, right? Well, this also looks a lot like funeral clothing to me, and I'm thinking that's something that just didn't have to happen. So it's our responsibility to fill the void that's been created by so many people that maybe don't realize that they're not 10 feet tall and bulletproof, that their decisions do have long lasting consequences. And maybe we can share a little bit of hope, a little bit of light somehow. And I'm thinking that we do it the best way we know how, which is gathering together, doing something on New Year's Eve that represents who we are as Team Addict Athlete, get the word out, get the invitations out, at least spark the idea that maybe someone's New Year's resolution will be to change their life, maybe to erase that path they're on, replace it with something better, hopefully to turn what could have been a tragic mess into a very powerful message. And I think that's what we're here for in Team Addict Athletes. So athletes, I need your help. We got to come out and figure out what we're doing with this. So bring your thinking caps. People that are on the live feeds right now, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. If you have ideas, post some comments. I mean, if you've made it this far in the video, you know that we're passionate about this. If not, then, you will probably be a distant memory as you're scrolling past. So let's do something different this year. Let's do something better. Let's see if we can give back to this community that this individual took from, and see what happens. I'm a firm believer that we can make great change. And I've learned never to question what you come up with, because we get things done. We're the doers. So nonetheless, athletes, bring your thinking caps. I want to figure out what we're going to do, how we want to do it. I want to make some noise, because 11,440 DUI arrests in Utah alone, that's insane. That tells me that no one's really paying attention to like what these consequences of life could be. I don't care, the alcohol doesn't taste that good to put yourself in a situation by which you could take someone's life or maybe end your own. So let's rally the troops. Athletes, time to take your mark. Let's get some things figured out. And we'll go from there. So hope to see you tonight. For all you guys that won't be in the meeting, we'll be going live at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So hope to see you.